LBC. I'm Thomas Watts.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald. Good evening, everybody. Well, Boris Johnson today off to Northern Ireland, but in an attempt to set the agenda, the leader of Sinn Féin, Mary Lou McDonald, spoke last night saying that if there is a no-deal Brexit and that led to a hard border, then there should be a referendum on, as she describes it, Irish unity. Let's hear Mary Lou McDonald.
If the British government have factored into their calculations a hard border, then they must factor in also a unity referendum as laid out in the Good Friday Agreement. Because the route back for the North into the European Union is clear. Irish unity is the route back to the EU. We will meet Boris Johnson in the coming days, and we will remind him not only of the need to respect the wishes of the majority to remain within the European Union, but we will also remind him of his obligations under the Good Friday Agreement and subsequent agreements, including the provision of a unity referendum. Brexit has re-exposed the folly of partition, and it reinforces the need for Irish unity.
So be clear, Sinn Féin, of course, want a united Ireland. They do not wish to be part of the United Kingdom. That's clear. And they are using Brexit in every way they can to push for this border poll, this Irish unity referendum, as she describes it. A couple of points to make on what she said. Firstly, she said if the British government are factoring in a hard border, they're not, Mary Lou. They are not. No one's talking about a hard border. We're not talking about it. Mr Varadkar in Dublin's not talking about it. Monsieur Barnier's not talking about it. Even Donald Trump is not going to come and build a wall. And the other fascination of this, and one of the reasons why Brexit and Northern Ireland is so complicated, is this. Historically, Sinn Féin were an anti-EU party. I shared a platform with Mary Lou McDonald in the second Irish referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. I'm going back nearly 10 years, and we sat together and we spoke against some Irish ministers. And at the time, Sinn Féin were wholly opposed to Ireland, in whatever form, being part of the European Union because they're Irish nationalists. And yet, over the last decade, there has been an extraordinary turnaround in Sinn Féin's position, and they are now a pro-EU party. And that is what's making Brexit in Northern Ireland so very, very difficult. 56% of Northern Ireland voted to remain in that referendum. In response to what she said, the DUP leader, Arlene Foster, today talked about the backstop.
We very much hope that our new Prime Minister will deal with the issue. He will get across to those in Europe, and particularly in Dublin, the fact that they cannot break up the United Kingdom, because essentially that's what the backstop was doing. It was breaking Northern Ireland away, both in economic terms and indeed in constitutional terms, which of course runs completely contrary to the Belfast Agreement and the principle of consent, which says that for as long as the people of Northern Ireland wish to remain within the United Kingdom, they should do so. And the backstop was running a coach and horses through that, and therefore it is very important that the backstop goes.
So tonight with you, I want to debate. Should an Irish unity referendum take place in the event of a no-deal Brexit? And if you think, yep, it's absolutely what has to happen, call 0345 6060 973. Maybe you think, actually, it would be a very dangerous, wrong thing to do, and there's no evidence, actually, that the North would vote to leave the United Kingdom. Text to 84850. And if somebody else has got another solution to the backstop, well, please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. You can watch us, of course, on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, and comment there too. And I'm particularly keen to get callers from Northern Ireland and the Republic to tell me how you would feel about such a referendum taking place. Would it need to take place? Is it necessary or unnecessary? Before I go to your calls, I'm going to go to Eamon McDermott, a freelance journalist based in Northern Ireland, who has been covering a lot of contentious events over the years. Eamon, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Seems to me that Sinn Féin rather set the agenda for Boris's trip.
Well, they did sort of preempt them and get in there and set the agenda that way. But I mean, Boris also set the agenda by having dinner last night with the DUP, which for a so-called neutral guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement that seemed to be taking one side over another. So I think there's a lot of game playing going on by all sides in this current debate.
And I mean, has the Brexit vote led? Is there evidence that the Brexit vote has led in Northern Ireland to more people thinking that they should leave the UK?
Well, it's hard to quantify that, but I would say anecdotally, yes, there's people definitely. Now, they put the whole issue of United Ireland on the agenda, which hadn't been since basically the Good Friday Agreement. That sort of things had settled down on that issue. There was the we'll wait and see attitude. Brexit then, suddenly, when Brexit happened, a lot of people started saying, hold on a minute, we don't want to leave the EU. And if the choices become between leaving the EU or leaving the UK, well, a lot of people are saying, well, let's bye-bye UK. But whether it's a majority there or not, we don't know.
Remains to be seen.
But it's definitely growing.
And of course, the legislation, Eamon, says that a referendum on that question would only be asked if the Secretary of State, who is Julian Smith now, thought there would be a majority for it. So the ball on this is very firmly in Boris Johnson's government's court, isn't it?
Of course, it always has been. I mean, the mechanism of the Good Friday Agreement wasn't designed to hand over control to anybody else. The British government was still going to be in control and still be able to call the shots on issues such as the referendum. But there is a growing feeling that a lot of people, even like some moderate unionists, again, hard to quantify, but moderate unionists begin to feel that their future lies in the EU, and if that means Irish unification, then that could be the road they go down.
And if there was, let's just suppose there was to be a referendum on this issue, what would that do to peace and stability in Northern Ireland?
Well, like anything in this part of the world, any major constitutional question is very, very contentious. Now, I don't think it would lead to a renewed outbreak of violence or anything else. I mean, I do think that Brexit has potential to increase dissident violence because they see this as an opportunity to show a physical manifestation of the British presence. But at the minute, I mean, you could live quite easily in Northern Ireland and never feel either British presence, Irish presence, or any other presence because it's just a fairly normal society. But if you have Brexit, if you have any sort of border controls, then the distance may be able to say, oh, look, we told you the British are still here, we're a divided island, and that could play into their hands. But I don't think it's going to result in major upheaval. I think you'd have a lot of animosity in the arguments because obviously the likes of DUP will be opposed to a yes vote for Irish unity. Sinn Féin will be very much in favour of a yes vote for Irish unity. You would have very contentious debates. You would have a lot. But what's new?
Well, OK, no, in the case of Irish politics and Northern Irish politics, I get the point. Eamon, thank you. That was Eamon McDermott, freelance journalist based in Northern Ireland. I'm now going to go and speak to David McNary, a former member of the Northern Ireland Assembly for Strangford. He was leader of UKIP in Northern Ireland. And David, good evening and welcome to LBC. And you worked with David Trimble, did you not, to get this Belfast Agreement, this Good Friday Agreement in place?
As they say, and hello Nigel, and lovely to hear your voice again. As they say in Northern Ireland, a number of us, and a hell of a lot of us, worked our butt off for peace. This is now all being thrown back on our faces. A unity referendum that Mary Lou McDonald's talking about would be a disaster. It would wreck and destroy that peace, and being a unionist, as I am, it would be a vote for my survival. That's the stakes, and that's how high she's actually putting these stakes. Now, my assessment, Nigel, is that whilst Arlene Foster is doing a good job, she's protecting the integrity of the union and holding Parliament together with the DUP confidence and supply arrangement. But she's coming under very close scrutiny over the agitation being fired at Unionists by Mary Lou McDonald. She's the Sinn Féin leader, and she's using this Remain vote to push for a border poll. Can I tell you, maybe Nigel and your audience, and you were right, the Secretary of State's the only person to decide whether it's right or not. The news in Northern Ireland today, while the Prime Minister's here, is that the Northern Ireland office, which serves the Prime Minister and serves the Secretary of State, has removed all photos of Her Majesty the Queen in the government office in Belfast in case nationalists are offended. Can I tell you, that's just making unionist anger palpable. It is just in your face. The peace was won, but at what a price?
Because it happened to the RUC, I know it did. David, can I ask you, I mean, yes, of course, this decision as to whether a border poll should be called does rest under the legislation with Julian Smith, but I suppose in a sense it rests with Boris Johnson. Really, do you trust Boris Johnson to? And he's got a difficult job coming up this autumn. I mean, no great parliamentary majority, splits in his own party, an absolute commitment from Boris to deliver Brexit on the 31st of October. And I guess a cynic might say that one of the ways that Boris could deliver Brexit and satisfy Brussels, outrageous though I think their demands are, is he could rather betray Northern Ireland. Do you feel as a unionist that there is a risk of that?
We came very close to that betrayal under Theresa May. Many of the same people are still in office, and the betrayal was that she was going to annex Northern Ireland, turn us into some kind of EU satellite, and keep the backstop in place. I am concerned, and I think I speak for a lot of unionist people. We actually haven't heard Boris say that's not going to happen. What he's saying is that the backstop's not going to happen. What he's saying is we'll be out of the EU come Halloween. But he's giving no actual promises to Arlene Foster and her supply and confidence arrangement that says that the possibility is. And I've heard people on your programme earlier in the week talking about Scotland.
Yes.
And suggesting that, maybe the English really don't care about the Scots. Can I appeal to the English, please care about this little place of mine called Northern Ireland, in that we're part of the United Kingdom. You sent your soldiers and your sons here. Many of them didn't come back, and I lost a couple of very, very good friends to terrorism. But this is who we are. This is what the union's all about. I really don't believe, much as I want to, Nigel, that Boris can be trusted to the extent that he would not turn his back on Northern Ireland. And when the government that he served in, and bear in mind he voted for the bloomin' deal at the third crack. He did. But when push came to shove there, Theresa May was quite prepared to sacrifice Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's breaking up the union.
I have to say, David, I do share your concern. It does seem to me, for Boris, it could be the easy way out. David Manari, thank you very much for joining us. Well, you've heard two very clear voices there. This is going to be a big issue. Sinn Féin, politically, much stronger than they've been in the past. The demographics of Northern Ireland have changed significantly over the course of the last few years, and she really, in many ways, led that political agenda today in Northern Ireland. Politically clever, some would say actually that it's dangerous, that it's agitating a situation, but at some point, this is one of the big questions that Boris Johnson is going to have to answer. Should Boris Johnson's government offer a border poll referendum in the event of a no-deal Brexit? I'll be back to you and your calls in a moment. But for now, you're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:16, and time for the news headlines with Thomas Watts.
An inquiry's found that failures to learn from mistakes perpetuated decades of child abuse in Nottinghamshire. The Prime Minister has urged Northern Irish leaders to seal a power-sharing deal. Ryanair has warned staff to prepare for job losses in the coming weeks because it has a surplus of pilots and cabin crew. Mostly clear and cool tonight, with showers clearing from the northeast of England and western Scotland, a low of 9 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and there's a 14-mile queue on the clockwise M25 still from the M11 at 27 to emergency repairs before the QE2 bridge. Only one lane is open. On the Surrey stretch clockwise, it's queuing from the M23 at 7 to an accident before Leatherhead at junction 9. In Abbey Wood, an accident's blocking Woolwich Road westbound at New Road, and a large burst water main in East Wickham has shut Wickham Lane both ways. Things have improved on the tube, just minor delays now on the Circle and Hammersmith and City lines, and on the trains, South Eastern have delays of half an hour at Charlton.
This is LBC.
Sometimes it's hard to spot a good deal. Like this one I'm holding up here, for example. It says... oh, it's upside down. Hang on. Join PlusNet today and get a free £60 reward card when you buy PlusNet Fibre. Ah, that's nice. For all our great value deals on fixed price contracts, search PlusNet Fibre now. Offer ends 6th of August. PlusNet will do you proud. That's quite a big sign. Oh, what's this little bit at the bottom? 18-month contract, new customers in low-cost areas only, £5 activation fee, reward card claim by email and within 2 months, terms apply, visit plus.net. That's good to know.
This is LBC.
Football is back on Sky Sports.
With our total football offer, you get all our football for just £18 extra a month.
Absolutely amazing.
Sky Sports has more live games than ever before and more of the biggest fixtures. That means more passion, more drama, more glory. All for just £18 extra a month.
And it's live.
Search by Sky Sports. Sky Sports Football and Premier League, £18 a month for 18 months. Requires Sky TV. Prices may change during this period. Offer ends September 26th.
Swimsuit tick, sun cream tick, holiday money, big tick. Right, I'm off to pick up all the holiday bits from M&S.
What about the holiday money?
I'm picking that up from M&S too. They've got a new click and collect travel money service. It's just so easy.
I didn't know M&S did travel money.
Oh, there's a lot you don't know. Like how many outfits I've ordered. M&S Bank's new click and collect travel money service gives you our best exchange rates with preferential rates for M&S cardholders. Order online and collect in store. £250 minimum order. Terms and conditions apply. Search M&S Travel Money.
One for Mum, one for Becky, 2 for me.
Pretty generous to yourself there, Dad.
Well, I am the chef, and you're helping out, so you get 2 as well.
Thanks, Dad.
Shh, your mum will hear.
At Shell Energy, we like to play favourites with everyone, so our home energy customers can get exclusive rewards, like money off fuel at Shell service stations. Search Shell Energy. Home energy matters. Terms and conditions apply. Visit shellenergy.co.uk.
There's nothing like meeting face-to-face. And there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere. Your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at zoom.com today. Meet happy with Zoom.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Whether the UK had voted Brexit or not, Mary Lou McDonald of Sinn Féin would be pushing for a border poll and would be pushing for Northern Ireland to leave the United Kingdom. But she sees, through Brexit, an opportunity. Sinn Féin, who are the born-again European Unionists, having been opposed to it for the entire existence of their party. Your comments coming in. Ireland is best unified. It is one Ireland and England is another. Always was. As an Irishman living in London, I fully support Brexit. I also believe in Irish unification and Ireland leaving the EU. Yeah, but at the moment, Ireland's not going to leave the EU. Although, worth remembering that twice the Irish people in the last 20 years have voted against European treaties in referendums, only to be made to vote again. Adam in Leeds says, you're risking splitting the union because of your campaign. You're risking peace in Ireland and return to the Troubles. You'll deny this and not read out my message. I just did, Adam. And I'll read out any of your critical messages, provided you don't use 4-letter words and you're not abusive. Adam, I actually, when it comes to the peace argument, let me just repeat the point. There is not going to be a hard border in Northern Ireland. There are not going to be soldiers and checkpoints. It isn't happening, all right? It isn't happening. The only difference, if we left on WTO terms, would be some tariffs to pay, which, of course, would be logged in by lorry drivers on their mobile phones. And the idea we'd have to stop goods coming into the Republic to check they weren't substandard. I mean, the UK's not. We're not a third world country, and we start on day one with absolutely parallel regulations. What does worry me slightly is I do worry that if there was a border poll, that might be a genuine risk to peace, and I am actually a little bit concerned about that. Jared from Southall says to me, I'm an Englishman, but I care passionately about Northern Ireland. I love the province and the people and desperately want them to remain part of the United Kingdom. Jared, I'm a Unionist too. I feel exactly the same way that you do. Let's go to Belfast and speak to Mark. Mark, good evening to you.
Good evening, old man. How are you?
I am well. Well, it's been a pretty contentious day in Northern Irish politics, and indeed in Irish politics, where I noticed that the Taoiseach's popularity is not exactly going through the roof as a result of the way that he's handled Brexit. Mark, I mean, Mary Lou McDonald, she's a clever politician. I will give her that. But it's quite dangerous the way she's playing this, isn't it?
It is, obviously, yes. And one thing I'd like to point out, first of all, to any Irish people who are listening, particularly in the Republic, is that 86% of our laws do not come from Dáil Éireann, the currently suspended Assembly, nor indeed Westminster. They come from Brussels by those who we do not elect and cannot elect. While of the remaining 14%, all of them have to comply with the diktat of the European Union. So essentially, there's no such thing as the Republic of Ireland. It is simply a state within a United States.
Well, it's a member state, isn't it, of an EU? Yeah. So
that's all, just like Ohio.
So, Mark, you are profoundly Eurosceptic. Can I ask which side of the community in Belfast you come from?
I'm born and reared on the Catholic community.
So you're from the Catholic?
I pointed out to you before, and I prefer if you didn't mention it now, that I have some dreadfully Republican background in my family.
I remember. I've got you now. Yes. Okay. So you're one of those. So you're one of those. You're one of those people from the Catholic divide. Can you explain to me why Sinn Féin have gone from being so Eurosceptic they shared a platform with me to being in favour of the EU? Money. Do you know, Mark, I was going to say that, but I hope somebody else would. I have to say that the European Union is very, very good at dishing out largesse. Mark, where does all of this go, in your opinion?
Well, where it goes is that ordinary Republicans, people like myself, I'm not working class any longer, thank God, but people who are working class in West Belfast, in Cregan and Derry, in where I'm from, in Mid-Ulster, are struggling day and daily to make ends meet. But their leaders, the political leaders, have all the money they want because it's coming in from alternative sources. Without a shadow of doubt, William Jefferson and his wife and certain other sources.
Mark, you're suggesting that the Sinn Féin leadership have sold out. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Precisely, yes.
Yeah, OK. Mark, thank you. Well, very strong opinions there. From Mark in Belfast. Kevin is a new caller from Westmoreland in Kent. Kevin, hello there.
Hello, Nigel. Lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, welcome.
Just really wanted to, I guess, share with you my thoughts. I think if there is any vote in Ireland, I think that's really very much for the people of Ireland to decide, and the people of the south of Ireland, and equally the people of north of Ireland to decide. But I think what this is doing more importantly is unearthing that the delivery of Brexit is so much more complicated than anyone ever imagined. And I'm not sure it's possible, Nigel. And I know you're going to hate that, but I just don't see how we can deliver Brexit and keep Ireland safe, secure and peaceful. Because even now, when people are saying, in terms of the US, they're saying no trade deal because Congress will not agree anything that will interrupt or go against the Good Friday Agreement.
So there are Democrats saying that they would not support a free trade deal with the United Kingdom if effectively a hard border was put back between the Republic and Northern Ireland. Kevin, there isn't going to be a hard border, OK?
What is there going to be, Nigel? There has to be a border. You wanted to take back control. How do you take...
Kevin,
Nigel, how do you take back control? with a 315-mile border, open border, with people able to cross freely and smuggle. How
Kevin,
is that taking back
if
control,
you and
Nigel?
I went to that border now, right now...
How many times have you crossed that border, Nigel?
Many. If you and I
How
went...
many times?
Oh,
Don't say
right,
many.
Kevin, if you're not going to... I tell you what, if you're not going to listen... If you're not going to listen, I'll get somebody else on. No, I've listened for a long time.
I'll listen.
Kevin, if we went to the border right now, okay, you would find no physical structure, as you well know. But you would find, from one side of a field to the other, or one side of a road to the other, right now today, you would find different income tax rates. You would find different excise duties on tobacco, alcohol, elsewhere, and other things. You would find different corporation tax rates, and you would find also a different currency. All right? Now, when it comes to people, remember that ever since the establishment of the Republic, there's been a common travel area between Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom.
I believe.
And so, basically, getting on for 100 years, and, Kevin, they are not part of Schengen. All right? Now, I think ever since the Belfast Agreement, and we had David McNary on earlier, who helped to negotiate that and was considered by many on his own side in the Unionists to be sort of treacherous for having done it, but we've had 20 much, much better years. And on a good day, you can walk through Belfast and it feels like any other British city. It operates on the principle of live and let live, and that will continue.
I'm not convinced it will continue because I was there as a child. My mother is from Kilkenny. My father was from Belfast. I crossed that border when there were soldiers, and it was a hard physical border, and I've seen the horrors, and my family have experienced the horrors of what happened in those troubled times. It's not so simple as that. History does not just simply erase itself, Nigel. I think you need to understand that.
Well, let's turn it round the other way, Kevin.
I do not believe you do.
Let's turn it round the other way. You tell me why there would need to be a hard border.
Because to trade within the World Trade Organization rules and regulations, you need to demonstrate that you can control your borders.
But you do that because people will put in customs declarations.
Which will need a border, a hard border. Nigel.
There is a border there now. I mean,
Nigel.
There is a border. Kevin,
Nigel,
here's the issue. Here's the issue.
No.
Here's the issue. Do we need a hard border? The answer is no.
To trade in the World Trade Organization rules, you need a hard border because you need to regulate what comes across.
Yeah,
that
and
border.
also under World Trade, under World Trade Organization rules.
Nigel, you're just dismissing a fact, Nigel.
Let me tell you a fact. Under World Trade Organization rules, in areas of political.
Getting behind madness.
You haven't read this, have you? In areas of political sensitivity, different operations can be put in place. Thank you. And Geneva are hardly going to want to provoke conflict in Northern Ireland. Look, Kevin, I think there is a sensible way through this. There's a compromise through this.
No one's going to want to promote conflict.
Well, then we're very fortunate, aren't we?
The feelings on either side of that border will drive that conflict.
Well, we're very fortunate, aren't we, that the World Trade Organization, within their rules, have that provision for areas of political sensitivity. Kevin, I've got to run because it is 6:30 and it's time for the news with Thomas Watts.
A highly critical report has found that predatory care staff in Nottinghamshire were able to abuse children for decades. It also found complaints made to the police were not treated with sufficient seriousness. Sinn Féin has repeated a demand for a public poll on Irish reunification in the event of a no-deal Brexit. The Prime Minister has held talks with the major Stormont parties to discuss Brexit and the restoration of power sharing. Police in Essex have identified a sixth death that's believed to be linked to Class A drugs. 3 men and 3 women have died within a 6-mile radius since Sunday. LBC weather. Showers and thunderstorms should ease in western Scotland and northeast England tonight. Clear and cool elsewhere, a low of 9 Celsius.
This is LBC.
LBC Business Hour with Ian Dale. Every Thursday evening from 8, answering questions from new startups to established companies.
When it comes to selling your startup business, nobody can actually have that passion that you've got for it yourself. For me, that's why the startup failure rate is high, because they don't know how to market and sell themselves, and if they don't sell, they don't have a business.
LBC Business Hour with Vodafone Business. Unlimited data plans specifically for small businesses. LBC.
There's nothing like meeting face to face. And there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere, your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at zoom.com today. Meet happy with Zoom.
Builder Ali spent his 40-year career whistling as he worked. Then he was offered a free pension review from what he thought was a reputable firm. But it was a scammer, and his lifetime savings was stolen.
Oi! Waiter! Another bottle of champers over here.
Don't let a scammer enjoy your retirement. Check who you're dealing with. Visit ScamSmart from the Financial Conduct Authority.
Days and weeks can fly by, but if you're worried it's cancer, time can slow down and almost stop. That's why, with Bupa Health Insurance, you can call us about any symptom of cancer without seeing your GP first. Depending on your cover and your symptoms, we could even refer you to a consultant there and then. Bupa Health Insurance. For living. To find out more, search Bupa. Direct access services may not be available for some underwriting methods, and you may need to provide evidence the conditions are not pre-existing.
Is 2019 the most confusing year ever? Fake lips, speaking fake news, eating fake meat. Let's put it to a vote. After vote, after vote. But are we being listened to by our home devices?
No.
They don't have the answer. Get past the confusion with the Confused.com Beat Your Renewal Quote Guarantee. If you can't beat your renewal quote, you get the difference plus £20. Don't be confused. Be Confused.com. T's and C's online, single annual policies only.
Leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Northern Irish politics as contentious as ever, and some beginning to wonder what Boris Johnson might do. Could he perhaps potentially sort of just push Northern Ireland off to the side? And would his Secretary of State Julian Smith consider calling a border poll on whether Northern Ireland stays part of the United Kingdom? I've made my position clear. I am a Unionist. I think even if there was a poll, I don't believe they would vote to leave. But it is a contentious issue. Talking of Boris, so he's now been our Prime Minister for just over a week. He has been making it very clear we are leaving on the 31st of October, do or die. And he's been optimistic and upbeat and bullish, and Brexiteers, a lot of them are saying, hooray! At last we've got somebody who actually believes in it, who's positive. What is not to like? And here was Boris last night talking in Wales about Brexit.
Some of the changes and adjustments that are going to be necessary in the run-up to October the 31st, and a lot of which we've already done, will be crucial anyway if we're going to come out of the customs union, come out of the single market, as we must in the course of the next couple of years.
What?
If we're going to come out of the customs union, come out of the single market, as we must in the course of the next couple of years.
The next couple of years? You said 31st of October, do or die. There we are, folks. There is the first watering down of everything Boris said. He now, effectively with that comment, is talking potentially about a transition period, or an implementation period, as Mrs May branded it, of up to 2 years. So we could, under Boris, still be in the single market, still be in the customs union, unable to negotiate any trade deals, no doubt paying over far more than 39 billion, and we could still be in the EU in 2021, effectively. I think people might be in for a little bit of a shock. I really do think that what Boris Johnson is going to do is to try to bring back Mrs May's deal, that new European treaty, rebrand it, reheat it, try and sell it to the House of Commons and the British people as some wonderful new British deal. Maybe even put that to a general election. And if he does that, there's very little difference between him and Mrs May. Let's hope I'm wrong. OK, back to Northern Ireland, back to the border poll, back to Sinn Féin, very much setting the agenda for Boris Johnson's visit today. Christina is new to the show and is calling from, is it Maghaberry?
It's
McGabry.
I'm sorry. I really apologise. Welcome.
Have you ever heard of McGabry Prison?
No, I'm sorry. Christina, welcome to the show. So, are there circumstances here? If Boris, and I'm very sceptical that he would, but if there was to be, a clean break exit on the 31st of October, would it be right for the UK government to call a referendum in Northern Ireland and then a subsequent one, of course, that would happen in the south? Would it be right? No?
It would be wrong. It would be totally wrong because the Northern Ireland maybe had a majority to leave the EU, but the majority did not vote to leave the UK. So you might have had Unionists or Protestants and that voting, and Catholics voting maybe to leave the EU.
Or to stay.
Well, Scotland had a majority to leave the EU, and it's not going to be given its independence, so why should Ireland have a vote?
Well, I mean, in the case of Northern Ireland, an estimated 80,000 Unionists voted to remain, and perhaps some of them did that out of fear. But Christina, you clearly come from the Unionist community, yeah?
No, I'm actually a Catholic.
You are a Catholic?
Protestant.
Right, okay.
I'm called a Dolly mixture here in Northern Ireland.
Dolly mixture, right. Christina, if there was a border poll called,
I think it would cause trouble.
Well, that was my question. Do you really think it would cause trouble?
It would. I think it would cause trouble. And the likes of Mary Lou McDonald is using this just as an excuse to call, they jump on the bandwagon, Brexit this, Brexit that, to get their vote. I mean, they have no intentions of getting Stormont up and running, so they haven't. At least Martin McGuinness and Paisley got Stormont up and running
they
and
did.
run it well. Run it well for Northern Ireland. At the minute, we're Arby School here. Arby School, we're handing in toilet rolls and supplies into Arby School because there's no money. And we're lacking Stormont for our everyday needs, and they're fighting over a stupid Irish Language Act. Well, I think it's stupid anyway. If anybody wants to learn it, go ahead, but we don't need an act on it. I think our hospitals, our schools, our infrastructures are all suffering because they won't sit in Parliament in Stormont.
I know. They're absolutely deadlocked. Christina, thank you for your call and some very interesting use of English there in Northern Ireland. David on Facebook says, I've been to Northern Ireland on more than one occasion. They are entirely loyalist and more British than I am. No, David, if you go to East Belfast, they are entirely loyalist and more British than you are. But, you've got to understand there is a very, very big Republican community in Northern Ireland, and it has been growing over the last few years, and that is undeniable. John from Burnham-on-Sea says to me, Boris and the Irish must start working in harmony. We owe each other a lot. Well, you could argue, John, that one of the people here who has caused trouble, and I'm going to argue that he has, is Leo Varadkar, the Taoiseach, the Irish Prime Minister, who really, I think, has been doing the bidding of Brussels all the way through this, pushing Britain as far as he can, without really worrying about the interests of Irish farmers who, if there is to be a clean break Brexit, a hard Brexit, choose your phrase, they would be hurt Irish beef farmers particularly, would be hurt very, very badly. And yet, Varadkar's loyalty, I think, is more to Brussels than it is to Irish farmers. If you're living in the Republic, you think I've got that wrong, it's 0345 6060 973. Nigel, please tell David McNary that I'm English, living in Wales. I care about Northern Ireland and our union. David should rest assured that Northern Ireland has many friends. John, Northern Ireland does have many friends. The question is, are they in Downing Street? And that, in the end, is going to be a big, big question. Sean from London says he's an Irishman living over here. He said, you seem sympathetic to the Northern Irish Unionist. Does that mean that you would rule out supporting any deals with Boris if he tries to put a border down the Irish Sea? Sean, I would not want to see Boris selling out Northern Ireland. Absolutely. Let's go to Bedford and speak to Paul. Paul, good evening to you.
How are you?
I am well. So, Paul, this is probably been the biggest sticking point and the most contentious part of Brexit, ever since the vote. We didn't hear much about it in the campaign. I know Blair talked about it a little bit, Major talked about it a little bit, but somehow this prospect of a hard border is before us. Do you see any solutions to this?
No, I mean, I think it was completely forgotten. And I know you say, with this, a hard border is not necessary, but
yes.
I can't reconcile a hard Brexit and not having a border. And let me explain why. I know you say that, goods will be checked by lorry drivers by filling in a form, but once we leave a hard Brexit, we could, for example, import chlorinated chicken into Belfast, and then simply drive it across the border. You've got to look at the border as a two-way exercise rather than a one-way exercise. Similarly, whilst we've got a free movement agreement for free movement of people with Southern Ireland, whilst remaining in the EU, will continue to have a free movement of people with the rest of Europe.
But it's not
What's to stop someone getting from, say, Eastern Europe to Southern Ireland, and then, because there's no border, simply walking across the border into Northern Ireland, thus being in the UK? I mean, I thought Brexit was about taking control of our borders. We have a completely uncontrolled border there.
Paul, we have had for nearly 100 years a border situation, a unique situation with the Republic of Ireland, because we were part of the same country for many, many centuries.
True.
And it is a very different situation. Of course, Ireland is not part of Schengen, so people can't just go in willy-nilly. And obviously the argument...
Nigel, we're not part of Schengen now, and someone from, for example, Eastern Europe, Poland or the Ukraine could come and work in the UK and travel here, and because they've got free movement. Now, the difference is that the Southern Ireland joined the EU after they had that agreement with us concerning free movement of people, and we've got an agreement with them. But once we leave and they don't, their free movement of people continues. Yet ours will stop. But as I said, someone could simply walk from Southern Ireland into the UK. Similarly, what about the fact that our unregulated goods could be imported into the UK, to Belfast, chlorinated chicken being an example, and driven into Southern Ireland?
Well, Paul, that is down the road, all right? That is down the road. There could be a time when we diverge. There will be a time when we diverge.
You're not looking at it from the EU's perspective,
Well, I don't think the EU... Paul, I don't think the EU is going to be there in 10 years, all right? But you know...
We'll be there on the 1st of November.
Yeah, and we will be on exactly the same regulatory standards on the 1st of November as the Republic.
We will be. Have left, and therefore we can do our own
45. Hang on, Paul.
We can track our own.
Paul, we've got 40. We've got 45 years of harmonised legislation. Now, I want us to break away from that. I want us to be more competitive. I want us to do new trade deals. I am not suggesting there aren't issues here. There are issues here, Paul, as there have been for the last 100 years. This is a unique.
No, it's not 100 years, is it?
This is a unique. The relationship...
It is unique, and I know one considered it as part of the debate for Brexit, and it does need very, very careful consideration.
It was interesting. I was asked one question about it in the entire referendum campaign, and that was when I was at Queen's University in Belfast. It was raised briefly by two former Prime Ministers, but you're right, it wasn't raised as an issue. It's the backstop that has made it so contentious. Paul... There's no perfect answer to this. It will have to be live and let live, as indeed it is today and has been for much of the last 100 years. It's not simple, I would agree with you. You listen to the Nigel Farage Show. It is 6:45 and time for the news headlines with Thomas Watts.
A report has found two local authorities in Nottinghamshire repeatedly failed to protect children in care from harm. A Cambridge University student has died after reportedly falling out of a light aircraft during an internship in Madagascar. The Prime Minister has urged politicians in Northern Ireland to redouble efforts to restore power sharing. Mostly clear and cool tonight, with showers clearing from the northeast of England and western Scotland, a low of 9 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and huge delays on the Essex stretch of the M25 this evening, heading clockwise towards emergency repairs just before the QE2 bridge at around junction 31. Only one lane is running. The queues are reaching the M11 at 27. It's taking an hour and a half to get through those delays. There's 45-minute delays clockwise towards the scene of an accident before Leatherhead at junction 9. There's just been an accident out of town on the A40 before the Target roundabout at Northolt. The queues are reaching the Hanger Lane gyratory. A burst water main in East Wickham shut Wickham Lane both ways, and there's still no Woolwich Ferry due to technical problems. Finally, for the trains, South Western are warning of delays at Clapham Junction, and there are delays at Charlton on South Eastern.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Clive Bull.
Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry says Labour would be off their rockers if they don't back remaining in the EU. Is she right? Plus first, the News Hour.
Clive Bull on LBC.
Whether it's a holiday packed full of culture, a holiday packed full of tranquility, or a holiday packed full of adventure, book your perfect holiday with Travel Bag. From round-the-world trips or city breaks to beach holidays or escorted tours, visit travelbag.co.uk or our newly opened store in Baker Street. Travel Bag, 40 years of experience packed into your perfect holiday. Visit Travel Bag in Baker Street today. At or protected.
William, Pamela and Anthony were sold investments by banks and ended up losing money. Luckily, they contacted the financial claims experts at Goodwin Barrett and were able to claim back a total of £65,500. At Goodwin Barrett, we may be able to help you too. If you've lost money on an investment sold by a bank, even if you no longer have the investment or the paperwork, just text SOLD to 66777 for a free assessment on how much you could be owed. Text SOLD to 66777 and we'll call you back.
Hi, I'm back. I just set a personal best on my park run. Feels great.
That's lovely, Mike. I think you've earned the right to put all the bins out.
Hey?
With Vitality Life Insurance, you get properly rewarded when you're active. In fact, you could save over £775 in discounts and rewards from our partners. Join over 1 million customers. Just search Vitality Life. Vitality. Positively different. Annual savings available with certain plans and are dependent on members' usage of rewards available. Terms and conditions apply.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes, too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/redeem. Terms and conditions apply.
Switch to BT Business Broadband today and get connected tomorrow. Our most reliable broadband connection yet is backed by our 4G network and now comes with a fixed price guarantee, which means your connection won't go down and our prices won't go up. Whatever your business, go online and search BT Business Broadband to find out more. BT, be there. Subject to availability. Fixed price guarantee for your contract duration. T's and C's apply.
It was a Sunday morning when I jumped on the tube
and decided to pop down to Greenwich via a large indoor jungle. And when I got there, I was captivated by a sparkling
scary dinosaur just standing there right in front of me.
So off we went to Wembley Park to look at the colourful fish.
Tap into the wonderful world of Off-Peak London. Travel in zones 2 to 6 for £1.50. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
£1.50 is an adult off-peak pay-as-you-go fare for a journey not going via Zone 1 on Tube, DLR and most London Overground services. Always touch in and out with the same card or device to pay the right fare.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
If the UK leaves the European Union on a no-deal Brexit, a clean break Brexit, a hard Brexit, choose your term, would it be right in those circumstances, as Mary Lou McDonald, the leader of Sinn Féin, is demanding for a border poll to be held in Northern Ireland about whether they stay part of the United Kingdom? It's a decision that rests under the terms of the Good Friday Agreement, with the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, who is now Julian Smith, the former Chief Whip. But ultimately, of course, it's a decision for Boris. That is what I am asking you. One here that I find very interesting. I grew up in Northern Ireland and crossed the border many times during the Troubles and since. There's never been a hard border. Yes, soldiers during the Troubles were there. They didn't stop everyone, only those they were looking for. It's being used as an issue that doesn't really exist. And do you know something? I have felt that from the very start. Barnier, cleverly, brilliantly actually, it came up with this idea that there was a huge problem. I said to Theresa May, now come on, sign on the dotted line. She did. And the whole Brexit thing has been a disaster ever since that moment. Stephen is a new caller from Caterham in Surrey. Good evening, Stephen.
Oh, hi, Nigel. It's nice to speek to you.
Good to speak to you.
A bit nervous, first-time caller.
Just think we're having a chat in the pub, Stephen, you know.
I've got a solution that might work. I may be missing something, but
okay.
I believe that we should put the border outside the docks in Northern Ireland. The British jurisdiction of British courts overrule all decisions and juries in that territory. The ECJ has no powers. And I think we should rent the territory to them on a short-term basis for something like 20 billion a year, 5 billion for each territory, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England and Wales, and see what they say about that, whether the impossible thing that it is disappears like the morning mist, or we get a lot of money coming into the coffers, which then keeps the Remainers quiet when they're asking where's all the money coming from to solve all the problems.
Do you think, Stephen, that maybe Boris might make you part of the negotiating team, do you think?
Well, I'm one of those people, if ever I go into negotiation and say it's 20 quid and someone says 15, I say 25, so they wouldn't like me very much. If they turn around and said 20 billion's too much, well, 50's even worse, isn't it, you know?
Stephen, and listen, novel idea, not sure it works, but novel. How do you think, so far, the UK government has handled these negotiations?
Well, I believe that the deep state doesn't really want us to leave, that the globalists really want to sort of push all of these things together, and this is where we really are. We're sort of fighting against that, and each nation state which is being gobbled up by the EU and destroyed, this is the sort of landscape that we're in, and countries or people that are proud to have their own nations and their own freedom of self-determination in a democracy, really need to sort of understand it and fight for that.
I'm your side of the argument.
Coming behind us.
I'm your side of the argument completely. Clearly, I am. And how do you think Boris is going to do? When Boris says we're leaving on the 31st of October, do or die, do you believe him, Stephen?
Not really, no. I'm afraid there are too many deep state actors. I often wonder, I'd like to put Theresa May on a polygraph and find out what she was promised.
Listen,
to turn everybody over in our country.
Stephen, brand new caller. Great fun to have you. Do call again. Thank you. I'm off to County Down to speak to Alan, who's a new caller. Alan, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, are you from the Unionist side of the community, Alan, or the Republican side?
I'm from a global side, believe it or not.
Okay.
I would be from a point of, I would agree with what your friend Donald Trump does in the States. If some of the other countries are going to put tariffs on our goods, well, then we just put tariffs back on to theirs. It's easy to sort out. I've been down to the south a lot of times, even before the EU. We used to go across. You had to stop the odd time, and there's never been a border. You stop for a minute, if even that.
Yeah.
But now there's no requirement for a border. The only people that need borders is the Republic because they are part of the EU. The UK does not need borders.
Well, we want to have, most of it's an island, which gives us a big advantage, and we've had a unique relationship with the Republic. So, Alan, was this whole business of the backstop, the threat of a hard border, was this all something dreamt up by bureaucrats in Brussels to make the process tough?
Absolutely. It's just an excuse. Whenever, if you go onto YouTube, there's a guy called, if you type in Strategian, and he's an economist over here, and he actually has all the figures that Southern Ireland has more debt per head of population than Greece has.
Oh, I know. Well, that was the bailouts, wasn't it? Yeah, no, they've got real problems with that. Alan, I'm going to ask you one quick question, because time is running short. If there was a border poll, how do you think the people of Northern Ireland would vote?
If there's a border poll and they decide to go for a United Ireland, I will sell up and leave. That's number one. I'll sell my business, I'll sell my house, and I'll just go, because I would not like to be ruled by Dublin, because Dublin, people have short memories over here. They forget what happened a few hundred years ago, whenever people were burned out of their houses.
Yeah, I think the point of the Belfast Agreement was to try and put the past behind. But Alan, I understand these passions are deep and historical associations in Northern Ireland, very real and very alive. Thank you. I've got time for one last caller on this subject, Derek, who's a new caller from Belfast. Good evening, Derek.
Good evening, a pleasure to talk to you, Nigel.
Welcome. So it's been a big day for Mary Lou McDonald. She's really kind of put Boris Johnson a bit on the back foot, demanding a border poll if we leave with no deal. Do you think that poll's going to be called?
No, I don't. But if it were to be called, I think that the people in the north of Ireland would vote against it. You have a large number of people in places like North Down who thought Remain in the Brexit vote was the right thing to do. But when it comes down to the crucial thing, the thing which is of paramount importance to the Unionist people in Northern Ireland, Labour people, other people who want to remain part of the UK, they would vote decisively to stay in the United Kingdom. That's more important to the people in Northern Ireland than virtually anything else. Brexit is extremely important, and I wish Boris Johnson all the best. I have my doubts. I hope against hope that he is sincere, he is genuine, and he does keep his promise. But as far as moderate people who voted, even some people who voted for Alliance, so my father, we were brought up Labour.
Yes.
And my father was very proud to be British. And a lot of military friends, a lot of friends have been killed. And we've been threatened all sorts of things. If you don't do this, this will happen even under Harold Wilson.
Derek,
21.
Derek, the key point you make is that there was a significant chunk of Unionists who voted to remain in a border poll. They absolutely would vote to stay part of the United Kingdom. Derek, I thank you. Thank all of you. Very passionate, big subject. I'm going away for a couple of weeks. I'm leaving the European Union for a couple of weeks. I'm going on holiday. I think I need a bit of a break. You'll be left in the capable hands of Eddie Mair, who will do an extra hour of his drive time show. I'll be back on Sunday, the 18th of August at 10 tonight. It's Matt Stadlen. But up next, it's